before I get into this slide, let me just talk about my thoughts. So my initial thought is when someone wants to move into international is the very easiest thing to do is expand into Canada generally, because you've got the unified North American marketplace already. We can leverage something like the NORF program. Once you've got a proof of concept, you can start shipping relatively easily into the Canadian market. Mexico may be another wise choice for you, again, because it's part of the North American marketplace, but it's got, the language barrier that you have to get past. The real big prize, in my opinion, is the UK and Germany. And that's where we will generally recommend you focus. And as Amjed mentioned, now that the UK is separated from Europe, you can't just rely on shipping into UK alone anymore, but you can ship into UK and Germany, and that covers your bases essentially for all of Europe, and is really a great opportunity for you to quickly expand. So you're focusing on the big marketplaces. That's your core focus. That's where you're going to spend your most time and energy. But as Amjed said, if you can quickly expand internationally into the other marketplaces, it does make a lot of sense. Now, typically I would say, hey, why spend your time and energy on a small marketplace? The reason why is just like I talked about the North American marketplace and how easy it is to expand. Now you've got the European marketplace that allows for easy expansion once you're in that local region. So if you've got products in Germany, that allows you to use the pan-European FBA fulfillment center system. Now, the only thing you have to really get past is the taxation. Well, you've already hired someone likely to help you register for VAT in those countries, whether it's Germany or UK. Why not have them proceed with all the other countries? Get that out of the way early on. That'll allow you to more quickly transition. So you're still going to focus on those big heavy hitting countries first, UK and Germany, but then you're going to be able to roll out those other countries with relative ease and not have to ship into every single fulfillment center in Europe to make that happen. So I would generally recommend you do that before you start moving on to other marketplaces like Australia or Japan or what have you, just because of the ease and the scale in which you can quickly broaden. But as Amjed mentioned, those two marketplaces are roughly 85% of the European market. So that's where you're really going to be spending your time and energy. So this basically is a slide that Amjed provided that talks about the size of the prize in Europe. Essentially 174 million shoppers online, 370 billion in e-commerce, and this is an older slide. Everything with Amazon, they requires a lot of approvals and so forth, so they don't update these things all the time, but it gives you a perspective. 63.6% digital buyer penetration as a percentage of the population. So it's a category that is more and more quickly, adapting to e-commerce, and they're embracing Amazon. So it makes sense to be there. Anything to add to this, Amjed?
And this is all back in 2019. This is before COVID, before e-commerce really became the way we buy things now. So yeah, it's just if anybody wants to expand, then obviously, with Prime Guidance, I have a relationship with Steve and his team, and I'd be more than happy to consult and assist the sellers that Steven, that you're assisting in launching. Great.
Yeah. By the way, this was just expected revenue in 2020, and they blew this out of the water. So obviously, with COVID, everything got accelerated big time. And then this is a helpful breakdown. Shows how big these, some of these are, like Germany versus UK versus some of the smaller ones, like Italy, for example. Just kind of puts it in perspective for you.
And we just added to EU, we just added Poland and Sweden as well. So
that's right. Yep. And this is a slide that just kind of talks about some of the, the areas of focus in Germany. The clothing and footwear being such a big, percentage of consumers shopping online, books still being very popular, home electronics, etc. How consumers are purchasing products online may be very different from one country to another. So keep that in mind. You may find that you under-index or over-index in certain countries. But this is a helpful slide, and Amjed and the team at Amazon can help provide guidance around your particular category and how much, one country represents versus another, versus US, to maybe guide some of the decisions. But generally speaking, it's going to pan out where your focus is likely going to want to be on UK, because there's no language barrier first, and then Germany, following.
Exactly.
And this is another slide on UK. It shows you the breakdown here as well. And you can see pretty similar, but some nuances. All of these countries are expected to see continued growth and continued penetration. Again, this kind of summarizes some of the things we talked about earlier about how getting into the European market allows you to have access to 28 plus European countries across what they had. And again, I guess this does include the couple new ones you added. Amazon is the #1 site, popularity in many of the countries, not all, but significant in a lot of countries, and the size of the prize is big. So, we won't spend a lot of time talking about that. I think everybody kind of knows how big Amazon is, but Amjed provided some helpful resources that we wanted to share with you. Amjed, would you mind just filling us in on some of the things that are within these helpful resources? And of course, you can reach out to me at steve@primeguidance.com, and I'd be happy to share this with you so you have access to these things.
Yeah, so the first resource, Amazon Global Selling, if you just go visit that, it just talks about all the opportunities and what you need exactly, what you got to do with your brand and all the documents that you have to have, and just gives you an overview of global selling as an opportunity. The VAT filing handbook, we just released that this morning, and that's just got all the up-to-date, as if today, all the rules about filings and what we recommend and how do you approach that within your Seller Central, everything that you need, right? And the Pan-European FBA, that's a little bit, now just yesterday we had a meeting about what you mentioned with North America and Canada, how you could just do the fulfillment that way. We just released that again, but it just talks about Pan-European FBA and where to inbound and how your products are going to be shipped around Europe, and just some success stories. Obviously, everybody loves those, but there's a lot of success stories for sure. It really comes down to this: if you are motivated to grow your business and you put this as an actual goal for 2022, there's no reason why you'll be successful. But if you're, taking too long to file for these things and not too motivated, it's a lot of work to do. And if the motivation is just not there, then it's just not going to work out. So that's where I'll leave it at.
So I've got a couple. I know we've got a few minutes. I'm gonna try to. Hey, Steve, could you just go back to that last slide for a second?
Yeah.
I just want to. I'm going to try to see if I can squeeze 3 questions into one for Amjed. Get my money's worth.
I'll put it on this slide then if we're going to talk questions.
Yeah, except I was going to refer to the last one. So my question was, in terms of resources, in the US, so I was thinking about when you showed the slide, in Germany, hey, Oktoberfest, big opportunity. Well, in the US, there's a whole huge ecosystem of third-party applications that help you understand the Amazon business. And some I use a lot is to understand what's the seasonality of my category, right? So if somebody goes new into Germany, the seasonality in the US, you'd miss that. So my first question is, in general, what's the ecosystem of some of this kind of industry research in Europe that, okay, now I'm in Germany, help me understand seasonality. I'll let you answer that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we talked about before the webinar. It's at the end of the day, whose company is it, right? Whose business is it? So if you do decide to launch in Germany or UK or France or Italy, it's definitely, I would say, it's the seller's responsibility to study the market, to see what's popular, go on those marketplaces, Amazon.co.uk, see what's popular, see what's selling, see what it looks like. But if we do end up working together or Prime Guidance, you assist them in doing so. We have a little thing my team and I built. It's nothing like Amazon official, but it's a event calendar for marketplaces. So that helps. I send it to my sellers that I work with. But it's typically on the seller to know the culture that they're selling in and plan accordingly.
All right, and then the other thing is I'm just looking at my checklist for a client, again, evaluating different markets. And there's a note here that says, when you sell in an Amazon marketplace, you're required to provide customer support in the local language.
Yeah.
So when you have clients that are in Europe, what do they have somebody that speaks every language? Do they outsource to a local call center? How is that often handled?
Yeah, when you activate the Pan EU, Amazon handles all customer service in local languages for you. So if you get your VATs and you're launched into all those countries and the Pan EU is turned on, then that's going to be handled on Amazon.
Got it.
Great question, though.
Yeah, there are some third-party solutions that you can use. So just like any FBA, customer communication, they're going to handle the majority of it, but you may get some customers reaching out to the seller directly about something, and you would need to respond to them in a local language. But there's some third-party translation solutions out there that can be used. But what I found is that everyone's concerned about it, but it's really not a problem. It's your contacts from international clients, just like in the U.S., are rather minimal if you're using FBA, because they're tackling 95+% of all communications, historically.
I think I would want to point out, I know Amjed had brought up, if you're as a seller, if you're in Seller Central, go look at your inventory tab, scroll down to sell globally, and there's some new sections there. Amjed took me to school on this one. I was like, there's sections that help you plan your growth. There's I'm actually jumping into it again because there were some items that I was like,
both international listings tool is new, and it's pretty good too. It's pretty good, and selection guidance is huge. I mean, the whole sell globally thing, it's incredible, right? It's like I said in the beginning of the call, Amazon's goal, like global selling, is going to be the next. Like, this is what's going to be happening. So the earlier, the better for you guys, for sure.
For sure. Yeah. And I think, for me, and there's also things that we talked about, logistics and, 3PLs. There's all types of things to help you here, from account management, accounting, compliance, excess inventory, FBA prep, those kind of things, storage, taxes. So, there's, Amazon's providing ways to help you out. But, for me, one of the biggest things is, again, controlling your listing, the foot that you're putting forward in front of your customer in these markets. We talked about how big these markets are, and it's important to get your brand out there and then represent the brand the way that you want it represented. Don't let somebody else do that for you.
100%.
Yeah. So I just want to point out to everybody that not all questions, could get answered on this call, right? International is very broad. There's lots to talk about. We tried to highlight some of the key considerations, but really the best thing to do is to jump on a call with us and have us talk through with you. As a reminder, we always do a free listing audit for you if you'd like to have us poke holes in your listing and answer any questions you have around international expansion or what have you. We've got a lot of partnerships with Amazon, like Amjed, that can assist in the efforts to expand internationally. And if you're a right fit for their support, we can facilitate those introductions and such. So please reach out to us if we can help you in any way possible. And again, if you think of something afterwards, shoot me an email, steve@primeguidance.com, and be happy to answer any questions afterwards, or loop one of the senior consultants in to help, or get Amazon involved in any issue resolution that may need to be navigated through.